Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the.
So, before this panel discussion on role of youth on spiritual empowerment, we have got another wonderful speaker, Christopher Hunter Taylor. Christopher, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Good evening or good morning. My name is Christopher Hunter Taylor. I am 20 years of age, and I am currently studying my associates in business globally and economics. So today I'm going to be covering creative thinking, critical thinking, and you, and how it pertains to all of us, especially with youth these days. So let me start off with the specific of creative thinking. So we think of creative thinking typically as the ability for someone to write, the ability for someone to make art on a canvas, as for one to make, a beautiful piece of poetry, things like that. Creative thinking does branch off many other ways in the sense of that if you think about it, we creatively try to think about how we can handle our situations in life. How do you open yourself up to the knowledge and realization that there is a lot more out there that one might understand as existing? And what is there that you are free to allowing yourself to understand as a reality that might not be physical? It might not be something you can touch or have your hands on. It's something that exists in a space outside of what you normally would like express and feel. And so we have to start looking at this and think, how exactly do we connect and understand this other part of ourselves that has expanded? And so, for instance, when you talk about something in science and based around science, our bodies have an electromagnetical field that communicates with one another. And this is a basis for how our emotions can connect, how we can express feelings and feel others' feelings. For instance, if you've ever had the feeling that you were connected to someone through almost like this emotional neuropathical like link, like let's say someone was having a bad day and you came in contact with them. Most people can say that they have this almost like gravitating feeling to understand or sympathize with that feeling. It's something that just kind of comes naturally, and it really shows us exactly how we connect to each other. And this is a great way to expand on creative thinking. We have to start believing and allowing ourselves to think outside of the box. We have to start allowing ourselves to be free of what we think as preconceived and set in stone, and be open in a way that lets us expand our consciousness and grow. For example, in very common times, I've ran into people my age who have this preconception that money is a super important and very, very, uh, needed thing to go by. Like, money is worth your life. You work towards money. Money is something that you should always push for. And while money does provide us in the physical term a way to support ourselves, a way for our own benefit, a way to experience things in life, we have to start to realize that money is a concept of how, so like for instance, we obtain money through our economy by having interactions. We added money in the economy for the easy trade of goods and services because there was no other form in which was easily tradable. For instance, this person has two sheep, you have two cattle, let's say. Those two sheep and two cattle may not be the same worth to you. And so money is our divide. It's our way to equalize and give a certain amount for what we believe something is worth. Realistically, though, money is like just that. It's a method of trade and a way for us to use it just as a medium, right? We have to start realizing that things like money and assets and value are realistically superfluous. We can't live and abide by those things as if they're the most important thing in our lives, because then we are going to start pushing ourselves down a path in which we are incapable of opening ourselves to different thoughts and ideas. For instance, we have a lot of situations where people are going hungry. We have a lot of situations where people are incapable of getting the needs that they need. And we have to start realizing that we need to start moving towards stop thinking about the physical. We need to start believing and realizing that everything exists around us within this physical realm and within this material plane. It's not exactly just that. We have so much more that we can provide and give to others. For instance, if we split economically all of the dollars in circulation, and I was given to this by my elder, Parisha, we would have approximately $3 to $4 million per person. Granted, this money would then lose its inflation in value because we would have $3 million per person, and thus circulation would, handle itself in the way that we would have an overabundance of shared wealth as it is. But we have to realize that if we are to come to a point where we're able to help everybody and everybody gets taken care of, we're going to have to start thinking creatively as to exactly what's important. And if money, for instance, is so important to our lives that we need to risk others and ourselves for it. With this, I'll start to lead into creative thinking, which is a tail end off of this. Not creative thinking, but critical thinking. Critical thinking is the second part to creative thinking, where you have to start understanding exactly why, how, when, and what something happens and why it is that way. So we have a situation where not everybody is fed and taken care of, and we are just assumed to the point of a Marxist idea where we are believing that everybody is held by their own. You are to your own means. Nobody else is to take care of you. You're not supposed to take care of anyone else. And it's something that's becoming more and more common. And we have to realize we are interconnected. We are connected neurologically through a field that brings all of our emotions, thoughts, and actions together. There's no reason that things don't just happen. Things happen because they're meant to happen. And as a people, we have to start realizing that we need to change that reality. It's not going to be something that's going to just change or something that we should concede to others around us. For instance, if you want to example how in a group we have very common signs of peer pressure. For instance, that is a situation in which one's emotional and neurological process and their physical action in some cases trying to enforce and push on others their opinions, thoughts, actions, and make people do things. This is something where we need to really start critically thinking as ourselves and push away from this concept. What can I do? What do I have the power to do? And that answer is quite a lot, actually. Your electromagnetic and neurological fields can affect and will affect things within physical reality by allowing you to take grasp of an idea or concept and make it real. It's kind of a thing, it's like a pathway that zips back and forth, and you have to realize that that change is only going to happen when you yourself start to realize and believe that you have critical thought and control over yourselves. You have to start to understand and realize that your brain is under your control and of no other. You have a subconscious that handles directly and typically by its own processes, but that by figuring out how critically your brain works and informing yourself and understanding more about who you are and what you are, we can start to truly understand how our brain works and interact with our brain and use forms of choices and actions to re-educate and retrain that subconscious part of our brain to change those neuron paths that link and then fire and then create reality. It's really interesting in a way that we think everything might be super basic and your life is monotony. But the beauty comes from the realization that you look at something and you say, how and why did that come into creation? What is its point here? What's its existence? How can I interact with that thing to create something beautiful? What can I do with my capability? And what can I use of previous past history and knowledge to create something that is a better situation for all? For instance, I made the point towards the educational system and how our current collegial system works with funds. For instance, we do not have in the United States any form of imposed rule set to allow for the college to take their amount that is required for what they are using as their capital, as well as their facility and what their upkeep costs are, and then take a percentage of that, distribute it based off of education and prior knowledge to different jobs, then add all those together in a formula, take account of overhead costs for students and their living and food, and then have it bundled in a way that gives an exact number to how much we need, and then make an overhead for that. That is something in critical thought when you have to realize and look at things and say, what's the solution to this? What can I do to make this happen? And that all begins in your creative thinking and your critical thinking. And so in essence, if you use this as in certain parts of your life, you can start to look at things like, I have a job opportunity. It may have ways, pros and cons for both sides of the equation. These are your cost benefits. You're basically trying to overweigh which one is worth which. And you have to start critically thinking in a way that assists and helps others, is a way that I like to go about things. I don't just think about which makes me more money. I think about the economy in my community. Which of these two jobs could I be more useful at? Which could I provide a overwhelming benefit to that company and to myself, and thus the economy and others? What in this position will I be able to do that I can also assist others and increase their knowledge and capabilities and learning? We're going to have to move as a nation and as a world together into a more critical thinking and creative thinking base for our brains to start to have change. Otherwise, things will continue to stagnate as they have, because we are not thinking outside of the box. We are not allowing those preconceptions of what we believe is important: money, wealth, financial assets, our physical assets, what we have, what we don't have. In the end, these are all physical things that add up, but they don't make what we are as human. We have to set value to what we are as human. We have to push boundaries. We have to go for something that's better. And we have to continuously critically look at what exactly we need as a whole and why this isn't so important that we are connected. We can do whatever the heck we want as a people and as a nation, as a whole, just humanity, as well as every other creation, if we decide to do it. This is the power of ourselves, and this is the power of our own thinking. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Christopher Hunter.
Sorry.
So I'm very much impressed to go through your profile with
Thank
you
you.
interested in various dimensions of knowledge, including technology, creative arts, dance, singing, quantum physics, religions and spiritual, ancient wisdom, culinary practice, and more. That is very, very
Yes.
interesting. You being raised in native spirituality, explained in scientific terms by your elder Cherokee grandmother.
Yeah.
Young
I've learned quite a
people
lot.
like, yeah, what do you say?
I've definitely learned quite a lot from all of my peers and everybody else that I try to, interact with. That's very important. because the more people you interact with and the more you're willing to learn, that's where it all starts.
Excellent. Very nice to go through your critical thinking ways as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we are going to have the panel discussion now. Herewith, I invite all the speakers and I request Grandmother Parisha to also join this discussion. The role of youth for spiritual upliftment of the world.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Can you hear me?
Please. Yes, please.
Okay, great. I think everyone, Yugandhar, everyone has been great, haven't they? I mean, I've stayed on the edge of my seat. All of you have been fantastic. And every one of you, what I like about how this is organized, and of course, it's the genius of my beloved friend here, but everything has complemented everything. Each of you have covered the elephant from every possible part of its being, okay? And so we thank you very, very much. I deeply appreciate you, as each one of you are very dear and family to me. And you've been extraordinary. You've been extraordinary. And I think as we come along, I'd like to ask some questions of you, especially like with Maja, because Maja, you actually represent a lot of the students in your school. And I know each one of you teach around you. You are the living teacher. You ask your questions and you help your fellow students and the world at large. I've watched each of you grow since infancy and you are just marvelous, okay? But Maja, how do you actually feel like the subject that you chose? How much of that is actually what you can share with your particular peers and your fellow students? Does any of this come across in the particular ability that you have to help enlighten them to that?
Yes, for sure. So before I start, I would love to give my great appreciation for you, Grandmother, and all that you've taught us as my elder, as well as the support of the Learning Centre for Human Development and the guidance that they've given us as youth of the world. And of course, our amazing coaches. And if we could just take a moment now for all you wonderful people out there to give healing energy towards one of our coaches, Margaret Bailey or Margaret Quinn, for all her guidance and to see her healthy and wealthy. And then back to your question. Yeah, for sure. So within our school system, we have this thing called Student Representative Council, which I found a great voice to be able to share what I know, but then also working in the behind the scenes of it to work with our our school counselors to see how instead of making people victims, we can make them empowered, because the way our system's currently working, it's making us young people victims so that we get hold onto our feelings, and instead of seeing how we can change them, become better versions of ourselves or work towards better ways of feeling instead of living in old feelings. And this is what I see our school systems and systems in general need to work towards to better educate and empower youth. And that's what I felt very deeply in improving within my own school system and the schools around me in my community.
And in the vision of this particular, these young people have actually organized their own youth program, and they teach and reach out to the global youth of our world. What do you see as the vision of what your organization is moving for? Where are you at in 2 years, 5 years? Where do you want to be with the strong leadership that you all are showing? How will you see yourself helping other young people learn and know what you know? What's your vision?
Sure. I'm happy to share my vision. For me personally, I would love to see our platform to empower youth to have the understanding of how their actual anatomy works. Because once you know how yourself works, then you can work. Right? So you can control them so that you can then empower others. And then through empowering others, we have the greater capacity to change how we fundamentally look at our world and look at our emotions, and then change the actual way that we see it in society, how we talk, how we interact with one another, so that we're empowering one another and not degrading.
Grandmother, please take off your mute. You are mute.
All right, can you hear me now? I'm saying I follow your vision. I will give all that I can and energy to that, because you are the young people of you are the world to come. You know, grandmother is 80, and there are many of us who are talking that are in our middle years and up into our snow seasons. And it is your world that we're trying to hand back. This is your world that we're trying to make sure that you have the next step that you need. And I feel that all of you are an example of exactly what young people can be and how they stand, how strong you stand is very, very, very encouraging, very encouraging. And Brooke, I love your facial expressions when you're actually teaching, and that it was a delight to watch you. And with that, I would like to ask Dr. Yugandhar, do you have questions you'd like to ask of them? I'm kind of so familiar with them, I could probably almost answer my own questions. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Brook.
I'm asking you, would you like to ask of the
Yeah,
young
okay.
people?
Okay. So, Brook, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Many people think that spirituality or spiritual awakening is meant for older people, right? When people get retired from regular jobs, people get retired from regular roles and responsibilities of the family, then they think of spiritual awakening. So in the present scenario, in the present days, so many youth are coming forward across the world for spiritual understanding, and they are raising in the spiritual wisdom, maybe through the elders nearby, maybe through some spiritual teachers, maybe through wonderful books, maybe motivated, inspired by some wonderful people like Jonasson, and so many varieties youth are coming forward. So what is your take on it? What is the role of youth in the present scenario for spiritual awakening? Is youth really required? Is spiritual awakening really required at an young age?
I'd say spiritual awakening is very important because it's a part of yourself. And if youth don't wait until they're older, they find a part of themselves now that they can then express when they get older, and they can express it and then help other people as well. So I think it's really important to find yourself earlier than later, because then you can help more people as well as yourself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. So, Kade Olson. So, how do you feel? How do you feel really the importance of entering into spiritual path at a young age, as Brook is telling, earlier the better? Do you agree with that? Or what is your message to the world as a young man about importance of spirituality and gaining spiritual wisdom at the earliest age possible?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. And as Brooke said, it's much better and to learn it as a young age, not only so then you can use it throughout your life, but as we know through the backup of science and spirituality, the more we think and our reactions and our thoughts, we emanate into our universe, and that creates and affects the world and the environment around us. So the earlier we know about this, and the earlier we know about spirituality and how we affect everything, we will be able to actually shape our lives and our world throughout our growing up and to our older ages. So the earlier we know this, the more we can change the world to be our ideal world, because we have more time and we're more able to influence and send out the right vibrations that we want throughout our life.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. So, Mr. Christopher Tyler, so you are talking about critical ways of thinking. I'm very much impressed with that, extremely impressed with that. And in fact, you are put to critical decision of suddenly coming into your talk live. That's very impressive. And you are talking what you are thinking at an extremely impressive way. And how do you? What is your take on the role of youth in spiritual awakening? So, at what age do you think spiritual wisdom should start with? Because you are brought up by the Cherokee grandmother, and from a scientific point of view, you have learned so many things from your childhood. So, how do you think the importance of elder people in upbringing of youth? What do you think their role in upbringing of youth, and how and why youth should get empowered right from very young age?
Thank you. If I'm to expand on it, it's, how do I put this? We have to start from a very early age to understand ourselves. And from a Cherokee standpoint, and from the way I was raised by Parisha, my grandmother, it's something that the earlier you start, the more you can start to understand yourself. When you start to understand yourself, you can begin to better understand how those around you might have interactions and with them themselves. And you can start to look and sit there at how somebody may interact with a situation, and how, from an early standpoint, we have a lot of capabilities from a sociological standpoint to learn and engage with those things that are very much close to us in our young years. And so by allowing it earlier and earlier stages, us to begin to become spiritually attached and become close to ourselves and our spiritual beings, we can start to then understand ourselves and others to the point that we can, for instance, it's kind of funny, but look at, for instance, I'm pretty into gaming. I like just social interaction. So especially with online, what's happening right now, it's a way for me to interact and, have that connection with people without the physical, which we currently have in our situation. There's a very, very specific way in which you can understand and handle the emotions and understand other people if you understand yourself well. And you can start to connect with others in a way that, let's say there's a bad situation where someone is getting extremely aggravated. The capability to be comfortable with yourself and understand yourself enough that you can turn to them, say, I understand that you are having a stressor. I understand that things are going crazy, but we are here and I want to make this a fun and good experience for everybody. And so by allowing yourself to educate early and allow to understand your spiritual side and then grow as a person, you can do more to the development of helping others, as well as educating them as to, knowing when those little intricacies are in themselves. And so I just think it's really cool because me learning from an early age allowed me to interact with others in a way that I grew as a person. And I had to go through things where I grew as a person, very much so. And I didn't see it as bad. This let me do well for others. And in the end, I truly think as a whole people, we are here and our specific goal is that we are sent for a reason. We have this reason that we are here, and all we can do is help and bring others up with us. And if we don't do that, we're kind of a collective. We're meant here to be together, and we're meant here for a purpose. So let's make everybody's purpose, successful.
Yeah. Thank you, Christopher Tyler. No, Pix, I have a question for you. Very interesting question. Scientific studies.
Dr. Yugandhar.
Yeah, scientific studies have revealed that the age group of one decade, that is from 16 to 26, this is the age group which is extremely vulnerable to so many types of distractions,
Vulnerable.
so many types of deviations, so many types of disasters, emotional or whatever. So this particular age group, if it is crossed properly in a very self-cultivating way, in a self-empowering way, I think the whole life will be beautiful. So the greatest edifice after the first 16 years seems to be most important in this particular decade of 16 to 26. What is your take on it? Because of your great and vast experience of motivating people, especially youth, and bringing them out of the traumas whatsoever, emotional, physical, mental traumas, So how do you treat this this age group, this decade as very important? And what's your message and advice and your take on the importance of taking care of oneself in more,
Ye-
in a better way,
Yeah.
in a greater way for this decade?
Thank you so much, Dr. Yugandhar. And I will say it's an honor and a privilege to present tonight. And I literally take my hat off to all the other presenters, like the youth. If I knew what you know now at that age, you have an amazing life ahead of you. So thank you so much and congratulations. My throat is suffering a little. I have been speaking a lot lately. For me, it is meditation and spirituality. It's also accepting yourself. And as I said, not comparing your lowlights with somebody's highlights and being focused on your passions. And mental health is a passion of mine. And I know what meditation has brought into my life. I live a very, very productive, full life by choice. And since moving to the Northern Beaches here on Sydney, I certainly know the suicide rates. They've gone up by 25% because of COVID. And I know that it's the biggest killer of people 15 to 45. So that's, and as I said, I lost my nephew by suicide. And so, yeah, spirituality, and yeah, you youth are so spiritually aware, and you know what you know about the brain is just so encouraging for me as a 54-year-old to know that there's people of your caliber at your age that know this. And so that gives me hope to keep connecting with the youth and just awareness. And I do believe that the education system is flawed. However, it is slightly changing, more about meditation, mindfulness. So, and Maja, are you at Barrenjoey? Yeah, okay. Well, there's 180. There's a youth program called 180. It's founded by youth, for youth, about mental health. So that's something that's really important. I'm a beach crew leader on the Northern Beaches here at DY. And for those in Sydney, you'll know where. And so we're bringing meditation, we're making meditation mainstream. It's all about getting back to just the simple things in life. And COVID has actually brought that back for me. Really drilled down and, like, I guess, peeled back those onion layers and what is important to me. And if I can share my message of hope to youth, and I do believe partnering, I'm all about collaborations with youth, because you know a lot of the youth won't resonate with me, like this old person in when you're 20, you know, 54 is old. So certainly working in collaboration with the youth that are featured here, so that's a way as well. Yeah, so great question. Thank you, Dr. Yugandhar.
I'd like to ask Pix, I would first like to say, you walk your talk. You have power unmeasurable to actually share and reveal your stories. Shows how real you are, how genuine you are. And that genuine nature actually brings people in. People, when you can open your heart and show your pain and what you've had to come to be, okay, people begin to trust that. And I look so forward to actually monitoring, keeping up with what you're doing, because I know
thank you.
you have tremendous impact. And you talk about the things that many people try to put on the side. You know, they don't want to bring up that, or they don't want to actually expose themselves to this or that. With your heart wide open, you shared all of that with us. And that was so impactful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you. And I always say I share because I care. And the more my podcast, my upcoming podcast, The Couragepreneur, is exactly that. It's not about me. It's about interviewing others that have overcome adversity and abuse, tragedy and trauma, because the more we normalize the conversations around these tough topics of depression, of mental health, of divorce, of bankruptcy, you know, the really tough topics that people kind of sweep under the carpet. I'm not saying normalize the activity, but normalize the conversations, the less we stigmatize them. So thank you so much. And that just makes my heart sing. Thank you. Really appreciate your kind words.
Thank you. Yeah. It's genuine.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Would you like to ask any question, grandmother, to our young buddies?
Wow, I would just absolutely, and I know I've already connected with some on social media, so I'm actually pretty active on social. So I would love to connect with each and every one of you. I'm on Facebook, just under Pix Jonasson, or LinkedIn, also on Instagram, as Maja knows, because we've already connected. So yeah, just my heart is so full for this. It's about quality, not quantity, and the impact that you people and we collectively are having, even today coming here, is just that ripple effect. So thank you so much.
Hicks,
Wonderful.
have you actually entertained writing a book?
Well, funny you say that. Yes, I have, and that's been a work in progress. I have had all the marketing material, and it was pretty much written. It was think and get rich after hours. Excuse me, but most people default to financial rich. That's not me. I'm spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, social, environmental, as well as financial. So, because of COVID, I've actually thought of done a pivot, and I'm thinking of a crash course in courage because of my car accidents that I've survived. And I thought, wow. And then I could hand on heart speak from, my own experience. So yes, I have. I haven't actually recorded that one yet.
Well, let me share that I have a real strong impression that a lot of things are going to open up for you globally with that book. So while you have this time, it would be great to put the finishing touches on it, because your message
definitely
is needed right now in the world. Look at our world. What better answer what you can give them? So write that book. Please let me know when you write that book, and I'll help you market it. Okay, but get
Thank you.
book.
What is the best way to connect with you?
I think that we could probably have somebody share that. Can you? I would think that Marianne and the people who are helping actually behind the scenes with our program,
Yeah, sure.
one of them get that message to you. But know
Thank you
that
so much.
Spirit gives me a lot of signals, and one is get that book out there and let the world know what you got to offer. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'd
Wonderful.
like to add up, Dr. Yugandhar, that
Thank
before we get to our next speaker, that all of the children that are here actually want to come to India. And I want to actually work that program with you and also have some of your students come back to where we're at. But right now, something you said yesterday, I hope so many people heard that. Everyone in India meditates. You cannot live in Mother India and not know meditation. And I want all of the young people that I'm working with, everyone needs to experience India, the heart of India. And so I would like to work with you in actually making sure these 4 beautiful people make it to India for maybe 2-3 weeks or a month. Okay. And I will sponsor that for you young guys. I will sponsor that. So you have to tell me when your time is available. Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. Yes, grandmother, in India, many education institutions and schools, lower school, like, below 5th standard, even that age, students are on the path of meditation. Many schools. It has been triggered among the educational circles of the country, the importance of meditation. The government is also supporting and make it official to have meditation hour must in the schools. In some schools, there is a policy of having 5-minute meditation before every session of 40 minutes or 45 minutes, 5 minutes meditation must. And there is also, like, happy hour. There is a schedule called happy hour. That means the first hour of the school should start with lighter aspect of life, including meditation and going within, the importance of going within. So that helps a person more rooted. And I think the whole world should also get into the path of meditation right from very young age. So seeing all these things, seeing so many developments across the world, herewith, I have a question for all of you. I would like to listen the inputs from each and everyone here, the speakers on the youth empowerment program. My question is, 12th of August every year, we celebrate the International Youth Day. In India, 12th January is celebrated as Youth Day, commemorating the birthday of Swami Vivekananda. But 12th August is the day of International Youth. So, may I put a question to all of you? Can we all think together, work together to manifest the World Youth Parliament on Spirituality in 2022? We will take 1.5 year time, more than almost nearly 2 years time. We all will work with several youth organizations of the world, maybe 100 organizations of the world. We'll involve everyone. We'll collect speakers from them. Let us listen to them. Let us share our wisdom. So it would be a combination of young people, majorly 75%, 25% young in spirit, but old in physical body, like all of us. We are all young in spirit. No, we will not accept. Even grandmother will not accept that she's old. She will never accept. I don't think she will never accept. She's still young. She's still youth. So youth is something related to spirit, not physical body.
Right.
But the importance of youth is to carry the same spirit when you reach her age, 80 or 90 or 100 plus or 200 years. So if you can carry the spirit, that is a real youthfulness. And you are here to teach all of us to be more and more youthful, especially. So 25% people be more than 25, more than 40 years. We will say the age group can be between 16 to 40. Above 40, we will have only 25% representation. So 16 to 40 will have major representation. So let us all correct. I would like to hear from each one of you. To start with Maja. Maja, would like to give your inputs on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, grandmother. Yes.
Yugandhar, we have one more speaker that we need to get on the panel as well. Remember, we had the speaker in the beginning. We have another speaker that was in this panel.
Who is that?
Was it Megan?
Andrew Gason. Andrew Gason was there, but he didn't turn up.
Okay.
We have now Maja, Kade, Brook, Christopher Taylor, and Pix Johnson. 5 members are the panelists now.
I regret I can't remember her name, but she spoke about what she does with children. She works with the youth program, Troubled Youth, and how she brings.
Yeah, Megan. Yeah, talk was over. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Megan.
Yeah, you're right. She's not now.
Yeah.
So we have 5 people here right now live with us, and about the youth parliament proposal on 12th August, we will make it 2 days program or maybe 3 days program. Better online or better physical. We will work out on that, whether it should be a physical event or a virtual event. But event has to happen. So I would like to hear from each one of you. To begin with Maja.
Yeah, I think it would be a wonderful event because when you gather lots of different youth perspectives, it not only allows us to have a greater understanding of what all people around the world are going through and how that there's so many amazing things in different countries, and by having an understanding of what everyone does, then ourselves we can create a better understanding of how we can act and then implement other programs or things that are working really well in different countries, and then allowing it as a youth generation initiative, which will then allow for better initiatives throughout upcoming generations, and then starting a whole change from the ground up. So I think it would, and if we can't do it, like we could have some people physical, which would be most wonderful, but then if others have to stay, they can do the Zoom and have them Zoomed online. Yeah. It'd be most wonderful, I reckon.
Definitely. Physical event is definitely most wonderful.
Maja actually has gone to China already and participated in a youth program just ahead of the coronavirus situation. So she actually went to China and it was an exchange with some students there. So she's been out in the world already doing her work.
Yeah. Even the present World Parliament is also supposed to be a physical one. Venues were booked in India, London, and Chicago as well. But finally, because of Corona, we were talking to each other on screens. Okay, it's okay. And what is your take on, Brook, the importance of the youth parliament on spirituality, and how do you think we can manifest it?
I think I would be very happy to be a participant in that event, because I think it's very important, because then it brings everybody together and shares everybody's different views. Some people don't think of other people's views or their perspective. They only get stuck on their perspective. When you have that many perspectives and different views, you can then look at all the different sides, and then you can understand where they're coming from, and then maybe you can help them understand where you're coming from. So when you have everybody talking about their different views, it helps with the whole large view so that everybody can understand where everybody else is coming from. So I think that would be a very important event to have.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, that is very important. And how do you think, if we want to have youth parliament on spirituality, we will form a team of young buddies. To begin with, 5 people here. There are already 5 people here. And the 6th one will be Megan Coaster. I will also ask her. She will definitely be a part. She will be very, very happy to be a part. So we all will form a team and work together in tandem from our areas of stay. So I will also ask the youth leaders here who can participate and take lead, not only just participate passively, but take lead, in fact. So
Yeah.
you will be the leaders for the first World Parliament on spirituality for youth, or we can say youth first youth parliament on spirituality. That may be a better word. What do you say, grandmother? Is a better word? First youth parliament on spirituality.
Yes. They're already on their way, and I can only thank you so much that we
Thank
can
you.
generally do that. And
Yeah.
you and I make that happen and help that. These people are the leaders. They are the
Yes.
ones that are talking. They're already propagating the word and bringing more youth into the new thought that they have. And can you imagine, Dr. Yugandhar, can you imagine if, like and it was Pix that said this, if all of our children actually could go through a school system knowing what these young people have taken it on their own to learn. Brook has been homeschooled. Basically, Kade and Maja has also been very much homeschooled, going to school, and Hunter has been raised and educated at home, as well as now has made his inroads into college. So each one of them come at this with such a powerful perspective. I think if we put them together as a combination, we will make a very, very, very big line in consciousness for our young people. If we can get the young people understanding, then we can say we succeeded in our own lifetime to see this world become the beauty that it was created to be. So we're very happy to get on board that dream. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, grandmother.
And so if you'll all nod your head or shake your head, no, we'll know.
Yeah. Yes, Kade Olson, what's your take on it? How do you think we can bring several youth from Australia and New Zealand and nearby islands? So you should be the leaders of the youth parliament of spirituality and plan it up. Once this world parliament of spirituality ends up, keep it in your mind. Let us form the teams across the world, and you people will take the lead. We will follow you. So what's your take and what's your opinion, and how would you visualize this youth parliament of spirituality?
Well, that's a very good question, and it's a very good idea as well. And as we see with new technologies today, we've got things like Zoom, which is obviously a great tool to use when we're trying to communicate in large numbers from different parts of the world. But it's a great way to be able to share everyone's thoughts, but it's a different sort of feel when you come in person and it becomes a collective, because it's not only that when one of us thinks, as we've talked about collectives, but we will start to affect the people around us just by our thoughts. So when we come in as this collective, we start to have a greater impact. And when we are all in the same place, if we're able to be somewhere physically, we will be able to really express each other's thoughts and single perspectives, but yet at the same time, we'll be able to come together and understand it as a collective. So we can find tools and ways like Zoom, or even just come to a place in person at one point. And through that, we'll be able to get all the youth's perspectives and understand how we can go from there and share our thoughts and knowledge to help other people be so-called spiritually enlightened.
Yeah, excellent. So,
Dr. Yugandhar, can I make a correction here?
yes,
Maja
please.
didn't go to China. She went to Tibet. And I picked up on what you're telling me. Yes, I was mistaken. It is Tibet that she spent time with and went there for a program.
I see.
Okay, thank
Wonderful,
you.
wonderful, wonderful. Yes, Pix, I would like to hear from you. It seems you are much excited to have and be a part of the world's first youth parliament on spirituality. So never it happened before, an exclusive World Parliament on spiritually empowering the youth. What's your take on it? How do you see, and what be your inputs in this dimension? Yes, Pix,
Can you hear?
you're there?
Pix, are you muted? Can you?
Pix Johnson, you are here?
Maybe.
Sorry, yes,
Okay.
I was unmuted. I mean, not on mute. I do apologize.
Okay.
Yes. Can you just repeat the question, please, Dr. Ugandhar?
Dr. Ugandhar, unmute.
You're muted.
Okay, sorry. So I'm asking you, how are you visualizing this event, the world very first Parliament on spirituality?
Oh, yeah. Well,
What is your take on it?
I think it has to be digital. You know, we could count on a live event, but I've been on one with Tony Robbins, and they've had like up to 100,000 people on and multiple screens and everything. And we're talking youth. They were born swiping, basically. So we need to certainly do something digital. Yeah, so in some capacity, as I said, I would love to be involved. There's also another lady that, yeah, she's involved in another youth organization, and it's Asia Pacific focused. So obviously a huge population base there. Collaboration with others. If we can get sponsorship from a techno, I know with making meditation mainstream, we've actually got support from Dropbox. So I believe in putting it out to the universe and absolutely making it happen. But I definitely think digital has to be the platform, because we can reach far more people that way as well. Technology dependent, that is.
Very good.
Great. So, Megan, would you like to join us?
Where are you hiding, Megan? Somewhere in there.
You're here, Megan? Okay, anyway. So, Kate, can you, Maja, can you just check the calendar? What day it would be on 12th August 2022? Yeah, just check. So, if it is on, and we'll most likely we should plan physical way. So if it is not possible in physical way, we can plan virtually, or we can make it a combination of both. So physical event at one place, and we can make it online as well. A few sessions with people who cannot come physically. So we can make it a combination of both a physical and virtual event as well.
We need to schedule training like with Pix while she has time. After the program, especially before we go on to the next event, we need to pick up a lot of organizing right now and actually know what we're committing to, because we spoke a lot of things along the way here of what, like, especially the feminine parliament and stuff like that. We need to actually make sure that we follow up with that, and it wasn't just some mishap of words. So we'll organize and set that up right after this event.
Yeah,
okay,
that is very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, just on another note, back to what grandmother said about the trip that Maja took to Tibet as well. Earlier this year, we also did partake in a trip to China, where I took 3 people from my school along with us, and we actually traveled to a school for about a week, and we taught there earlier this January, and we taught all the kids in the school just about the way of our culture and the way how we interact with each other. And we learned about their culture, and we just kind of had a moment where there was no individuality between cultures, but we kind of just went there to live and play along with them, and it was a great experience.
They focus the youth, these young people focus very much on understanding other people, not judging them, and not so much even trying to say that they approve of them. They just want to understand. And if we could actually make that more popular in our world, that we don't take sides. We really are a circle. And in my tradition, in a circle, there are no sides. So we always sit across from the opposite of ourselves in contrast, and they work and live this very much every day. That the contrasts are not something we need to make negative. They just show us the other side. It helps our compass stay true north or whatever direction we've chosen to do. So actually being out there and teaching the young people, I know I already knew for a long time, Kate's been asking to go to China. So I'm so happy that that trip became possible. And so actually, I think when we start looking at the youth, for us actually to invite each country to have a couple of young people to add to what we would consider the nucleus and actually have that global voice. I truly believe in this 80 years of my life, that if we would but take time to meet people, not just discuss governments, but to meet people like my young people here are doing, we would not harm each other. We would never harm each other. We would never allow anybody to influence us to harm another. It's understanding and allowing that there's another me that I'm looking at, that there's another way that I can respect. Even if there's something I find severe differences with, and I've asked my young people to see that, doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them. It simply means that this is not the particular way that I'm comfortable. And so if we can just get people to people meeting, and I hear that very strong in Pick's message too, just, you know, if we can share that we all have the same sorrows, that we all have the same pain, but we also all have the same joy and the choice of that joyfulness. And that's what my young people are doing very strongly. I'm so very proud of every one of them.
I wanted to share 2 quotes that go very well with this whole event and what you're saying, Grandma. It is, we must learn to view change as a natural phenomenon, to anticipate it and to plan for the future. The future is ours to channel in the direction we want to go. We must continually ask ourselves, what will happen if, or better still, how can we make it happen? Lisa Taylor. And then the other one is, if nothing ever changed, there'd be no butterflies.
Yes, very beautiful.
Yeah, I thought those were really cool quotes that I found.
Yeah, wonderful. So 12th August 2022 is a Friday. Yes, Maja, thanks for it. And we can shall we finalize the dates? 12, 13, 14 August 2022, the world's very first Parliament on Spirituality and Youth.
Okay.
Shall we finalize the dates, all of you?
It's very good. Let's move
Yeah,
forward.
great. Okay, now you can have some music, please.
One participator.